Hello and welcome to my channel. My name is Sam and today's video I'm going to be sharing with you my top books of the year so far. I have 7 books to share with you. I've been seeing a lot of people do this and I thought, you know what, I'm going to do it too. I've wanted to do it for quite a few weeks, but I'm just now sitting down to do it. So here we go. I'm very proud that I have 7 books. Okay, because this time last year, I don't even think I had 3 5-star reads. So this year is going so much better reading wise than last year was, and I'm very excited about it, like very excited. Now, some of these books I have talked about quite a bit on my channel, so sorry about that if you are a regular to my channel. Some of these will be of no surprise to you. So we're just gonna get into it, starting with my first 5-star read of the year, and that is When the Moon Hatched by Sarah A. Parker. Now, I did do a reading vlog where I read this, and gonna be honest, it took me a while to really appreciate this book. It just stuck with me. It stuck with me. And not that I didn't like it when I was reading it, I'm just like, okay, what are my thoughts? What is happening? And there's not really a whole lot that I can tell you about this book because a lot of things are spoilers. So in this book, we are following Rave, who is our heroine, and Con, who is the hero. So at the beginning of this book, we meet Rave, and Rave is working for a rebellion group, and she is on a mission when we first meet her, and that is where her and Con come across each other. So she's actually taken prisoner and is sent to be, killed, and Con actually saves her and takes her back to where he lives, his kingdom. This is a fantasy romance book, one in a series, the Moonfall series. I did not mention that, sorry. So that is sort of where the story picks up, and there is this very underlying thing where we know that Rave, she doesn't know everything about herself and about her past. There are definitely some things that she is not willing to accept and things that she has just blocked out from her memory because it's just so painful, and you're slowly starting to get it and you're slowly starting to piece that together in here. The writing is beautiful, very flowery, very descriptive. The world, the setting is really unlike kind of anything I've read before. The way that dragons are used in here is very unique, and I am just really excited to see where this series is going to go. And it's a beautiful book, and I think if you have not read it and you like fantasy romance, pick it up, give it a shot, okay? The writing might take you a little bit to get into, and the character herself, she might take you a little bit to figure out, okay? But it's going somewhere, okay? There's a point to it. You just got to get there. And then the next book that I have is The Butterfly Project by Emma Scott. You all know I love Emma Scott. I say this every time I talk about Emma Scott, but I love her. I love her. She deserves so much more hype than she gets. So in this book, we are following Zelda and Beckett. Now, Zelda has moved from Vegas to New York to try and publish her graphic novel. Now, this graphic novel is very near and dear to her heart. It is something that she has experienced personally, something that she sort of blames herself for. She's carrying a lot of grief about it, and she thinks that this will help her sort of heal, and she wants to get her story out there. But she's kind of running into roadblock after roadblock, and no one is really wanting to publish her novel. No one is wanting to take a chance on her. And so she is just about ready to pack up and move back to Vegas when she meets Beckett. Now, Beckett has a past of his own, and he is in kind of not really in need of a roommate, but he's struggling to make ends meet. And Zelda is now without a home. So she is like, hey, I'll room with you. I'll help you pay your rent. So these two move in together and they become friends. So this is definitely a friends to lovers. Definitely two people who have a past and they find healing within each other. And it is just a stunning story. I mean, if you've read Emma Scott, this is going to be no different. The journey that her characters go on and the healing journey that her characters go on is beautiful, both individually and as a couple. I just love her so much, and this book is truly one of her best, I think. So the next book that I have is written by one of my very dear friends. I love her. Take My Hand by McKay Marie. This is book 2 in the Whisper Me Nothings series. So in this book, we are following Hayden and Carter. Now you do meet them and you see a little bit of kind of their setup, but it's all like covered in here. So Hayden is the bass player for the Whisper Me Nothings band, and Carter is their photographer. So in book 1, something happens with Carter and her ex-boyfriend. He has been very kind of emotionally abusive and very manipulative their entire relationship, and they have this big blow up. Hayden comes in and comforts her while she is having a panic attack, and he tries to talk her through it. Hayden is going through a lot on his own. He has been through a school shooting, and he is still very much dealing with PTSD and just everything from that. And he craves control in his relationships and in his life. And so Hayden and Carter become very close friends. They have such good banter, such a good, like, just relationship outside of their romantic relationship. I think the buildup to their relationship was perfect, and their banter was perfect. Listen, Hayden Coleman, okay, he is like, does not say hardly anything, but then you get him alone and in the bedroom, and he turns it up, okay? He turns it up. And Carter was just, she had been kind of like pushed down by this relationship, and now she's on her own and she's trying to figure herself out. And I loved seeing that journey for Carter. Now there are some trigger warnings in here for obviously like PTSD, talk of school shooting, anxiety, panic attacks. Let's see, I don't want to say anything wrong. I know it's in here. Death of a parent, abortion, accidental overdose. So there's quite a bit in here, so definitely like check the triggers. If you can't handle it, don't read it. But I did really enjoy this book, and I'm just so freaking proud of McKay. So now we are getting into a few historical fiction books that I have read and loved. I'm sure you guys are probably really tired of hearing about my historical fiction journey, but I'm excited. So you're just gonna have to deal with it, okay? So the first one that I have is The Things We Cannot Say by Kelly Rimmer. Oh my gosh. I have spoken about this book at length in many of my videos, okay? I have an entire reading vlog on this. This book changed my life. That's dramatic, but it did, okay? So we are following 2 different timelines in this book. One is Alice, and she is the present day timeline where her grandmother is very ill, and her grandmother is trying to communicate something to her. And so no one else in the family is really taking her grandmother seriously. And Alice is like, she's trying to tell us something. Like, she's nearing the end of her life. This is basically like her last wish. I want to fulfill this for her. I want to see this through for her. So she is going on a journey all on her own. She is a wife and a mother of 2. Her son he is on the spectrum, and she's just very like diligent, very scheduled, and her family really doesn't know like what to do without her. So she goes on this journey, and she's also discovering herself and trying to sort of like deal with her family, and it's okay. It's so good. And then you have Alina, who her timeline is, I believe, it starts out in the 1930s in Poland before World War II and before the Germans came and took over. Now, her story is very hard to read. It's very sad. She is, both of her 2 brothers actually go off to war, and then her family is taken. I don't want to say too much, but like she ends up escaping, and she has a fiance. It's a whole lot, okay? So this is World War II historical fiction, and the end of this book it broke me. It broke me, okay? This is very much love and sacrifice and like what you are willing to do, survival. Just read it, please, just read it. So good. And the next one that I have is The Nightingale by Kristen Hanna. This is another World War II historical fiction. This one is set in France. So we are following two sisters. We have Vienne, who is the older sister, and Isabel. Is it Isabel or Isabella? I believe it's Isabel. Yeah, Isabel, who is the younger sister. I think she's 18 or 19 when this book starts out. And these two sisters could not be any more different. So when the Germans come and they take over Vienne's little town, she actually has a German officer who is staying with her. And her sister Isabel had come all the way from Paris when the attacks happened. She, fled on foot, walked all the way to her sister, and Isabel is having a lot of trouble with the war and what is going on. She feels like she can do more, and she's having a lot of issues with this German officer who is staying with her sister. Her sister is just trying to keep her head down because she has a young daughter, she is a teacher, and her husband is gone off fighting in the war. So she just wants to just make it out alive. She wants to do what she can, keep her nose down, and just, live. Isabel is kind of making things a little bit hard. So Isabel decides that she's going to go and join the sort of resistance. And so you're following their two perspectives. And this was fantastic. Fantastic, okay? These sisters, the bond that they were missing out on, and then how this tragedy, this horrible thing that has happened to them and to so many other people ends up bringing them together, was beautiful. And then the way that Isabel, she was fearless. She knew that she could do more, and she wanted to do more, and she proved herself time and time again. And then Vienne actually starts, she starts to rebel in little ways as well. I actually really enjoyed Vienne's story. I think a lot of people would like Isabel's story more just because it is more exciting. But I think being a mother and reading Vienne's perspective and just the things that she had to endure to make sure that her daughter was safe and fed, I cannot imagine. And so a lot of the choices that she makes, I'm like, yeah, I can totally see it, because it's hard and you just don't know what you're going to do in that situation. And so she truly did the best that she could. So yeah, if you like World War II historical fiction, this is another one that you definitely need to read. This one is so hyped, but it is hyped for a reason. It is so freaking good. Switching gears for just a second, I have a contemporary romance, and that is The Surrogate by Penelope Ward. This is her newest release, and I don't even think I've done a wrap-up or anything on this book. I freaking loved this. I flew through this in one day, you guys. One day. So in this book, we are following Sigmund, or he goes by Sig, and Abby. Now, Sig actually lives in the UK, and he has lost his wife, and he is still very much grieving the loss of his wife. And he's pretty closed off to relationships and pretty closed off to the world. He is seen as just being very grumpy, and he's just locked down tight. His emotions are locked down. And you have Abby, who is from the States, and she is just this free spirit, very just lively and fun, but she's also a little lost with what she wants to do in her life. Now, Abby ends up meeting Sigmund's in-laws, and they are talking about how before their daughter passed, she had her eggs frozen, and they want to have a surrogate to implant their deceased daughter's eggs into. And so Abby's like, I'll do it, because she's so she wants to help people. She really does. And so when they approach Sig about this, he's like, what kind of woman would sacrifice her body for something like this. Like, I need to meet her if she is going to be carrying my child and birthing my child. Like, I need to meet this girl. So Abby flies out to where he lives in the UK, and they do not get off on the right foot. But the deeper that you get into Sig's character, you see that underneath his very prickly, very grumpy exterior, he has a heart of gold, and he will do anything for the people that he loves and the people that he cares about. That is my favorite type of hero, you guys. I freaking loved him so much, and the way that Abby just like comes into his life and opens up so much for him, I loved it. I freaking loved this book. It's got, I think, like the perfect blend of everything that you like in a romance. It's got humor, it's got some emotion, some depth to it. It was so good. So freaking good. Okay, so the last book that I'm going to talk about is another historical fiction. This is not World War II though. This is the Vietnam War. So this is The Women by Kristen Hanna. This is her newest release, and we are following Frankie, who decides that she is going to enlist in the army to be a nurse. And so she goes off to Vietnam. And this is her story about what she endured in Vietnam, what she saw, and then a lot of this takes place after the war and how soldiers were treated after the war. There were a lot of Americans who did not like the fact that we were in a war, did not like the fact that we, were, as a lot of people saw it, we were killing innocents, and how the media and, our government handled it, and how they were presenting this war like we were winning the war to the American people. There was a lot of misconceptions going around, a lot of things that people really just didn't know the truth on. And Frankie does suffer from PTSD when she comes back from the war, obviously, because of everything she went through and what she saw. And she doesn't get the help that she needs, as a lot of even men did not get the help that they needed after this war. And a lot of people were telling her there were no women in Vietnam. There were no women in Vietnam. And she's like, what do you mean? I was there. I saw this. And my friends, we were there. We saw this. We were treating these men, like we saw the worst of this war. Don't tell me that I wasn't there. So you're following her, and then the friends that she meets along the way. You're following the love interests that she meets along the way. And just when you think that things... So, okay, like the first chunk of this book does take place like during the war. And then you think, okay, how could this get any worse? And when she is out of the war, that is probably like the worst. This I think really did a good job of diving into how these women felt. And even, I'm sure probably some men could read this and relate to it, with just how they were treated after the war and how they dealt with a lot of things. So this was a very powerful read, a very hard to read book, but I think a very important book to read. This actually, it just made me think about the Vietnam War and how we really don't know a lot about it, and we're really still not taught a lot about it. So it's very interesting, and I enjoyed my time reading this, which sounds a little weird because this is very heavy. It's not a fun read, but it's just a very eye-opening read, and I think that's what I enjoyed the most about it. So yeah, this cried so hard in this book, as I did the other two historical fiction books that are on here, but yeah, this was really good and I highly recommend. So those are my top 7 reads of the year so far. Let me know in the comments down below what your number 1 book of 2024 is. As of right now, let me know. If you have made it to this point in the video and you'd like to let me know, leave me a sunshine emoji. Thank you guys so much for watching. Please like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you next time. Bye.